I probably have been confident my whole life. Having the idea of something you want to do and just knowing in your gut, knowing in your heart that you can do it. And aside from my physics class, I think I did. I don't think I ever really doubted that this was the trajectory my life was going to go. So I guess that comes down to really believing in yourself, right? Whatever it is you have planned, what you see for the future or hope for the future, just knowing that, you'll get it done.
Welcome to the She Believed She Could podcast. I'm your host, Allison Walsh. Since 2020, this show has inspired thousands of women around the world to believe in themselves and take bold action toward the lives they're meant to live. Each episode brings you powerful conversations and practical strategies to strengthen your mindset, build your confidence and brand, grow your business, and protect your well-being, all while spotlighting stories of women who are making a difference and changing the world in their own way. I am so glad you're here. Now let's get to work.
For the women who do it all, and then do a little more. We're here for you. At AdventHealth for Women, we created the region's only women's health navigation team to make healthcare simpler. Our registered nurses will match you with the right doctors, schedule your appointments, and more for you and your whole family. So you can keep making hard look easy.
Dr. Kathryn Berryman is a board-certified OBGYN specializing in maternal fetal medicine, high-risk pregnancies, and obesity medicine. A graduate of the University of Maryland School of Medicine, she completed her fellowship at The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center and later served as a maternal fetal medicine physician with the U.S. Army Medical Corps. Today, Dr. Berryman is known for her whole-person, compassionate approach to women's health, supporting patients through every stage of their pregnancy journey, both clinically and personally. I can't wait for you to hear what AdventHealth for Women is doing for our community. And welcome to the show, Dr. Berryman. Well, I am so excited to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
As we jump in, I would love for you to start by sharing just a little bit more about yourself with our audience.
Okay, starting from the beginning.
Oh, yes, starting from the beginning.
Well, actually, something that most people don't know about me is I was born in Africa, and they're always delighted to learn that little tidbit.
Very cool.
Yes, it's very cool. My parents met there and started their family there, but unfortunately, we moved from Africa when I was 6. So I started first grade in the United States, and so I definitely was raised in this country. But I'm one of those kind of nerdy people who sort of always knew they wanted to be a doctor. I've always been kind of book smart, and I love taking tests. And I love people. So medicine was just like an easy fit for me. So I kind of always knew my trajectory. And I'm also a planner. Mm-hmm. So it was very much like, okay, what are all the steps? High school, college, med school. Yeah. And I ended up here.
Well, and I love this. And you also served our country, right? So let's talk about that too, because that's a little bit of an unconventional path. We haven't had any physicians on this show that have done that first, right? And it really was a means for you to be able to pursue your education too. So can you share, what prompted you? What was that experience like for you? And how has that impacted your life as a physician now?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a planner, this was not something I ever had on my radar, but I have my husband to thank for that. So I met my husband in college, and we got married right after college. And so as a young married couple, we were stressed about how I was going to pay for medical school. Mm-hmm. And I really didn't want to incur hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt. And I just happened to get a letter in the mail from a recruiter, and my husband opened that letter and said, "Oh gosh, this is a really good deal. You should look into this." Mm-hmm. So to entertain him, I said, "Sure, yeah, I'll reach out." And I lucked out with a great recruiter who was really dynamic and had a great fund of knowledge in terms of how the scholarship could benefit me. And I ended up doing it. So kind of on a whim, not part of the plan. But yes, the Army paid for medical school for me. Mm-hmm. And in return, I gave them 4 years of service. Mm-hmm. And during those 4 years of service, I just found that I really loved serving. It really felt like a calling. And so I stayed in.
That's incredible. Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you. I'm
Because
proud to serve.
it is, I think it's such a huge duty and responsibility, and not many people raise their hand to do it. So thank you for that. So let's talk about then the transition into what you're doing now. So share more about what you get to do on the daily, and your impact that you get to make, especially amongst the women in our community.
So I really do kind of the same job here that I did when I was working in the Army. I take care of women who have high-risk pregnancies, whether that's a high risk because mom has some sort of complication like high blood pressure, diabetes, or some sort of fetal complication. I take care of lots of twins and triplets, but also sometimes complications that are not so happy, like major birth defects and things like that. So my job is to work with my patients, with their obstetrician, to make sure that we're addressing all of their high risk specialty issues, and planning for a safe delivery.
Yeah. And I'm sure like medicine evolves constantly. So what are some of the things that you've really been proud of to experience, witness, be able to give back to our communities when it comes to, high risk pregnancies?
Well, certainly it's changed a lot, as you kind of alluded to. Our knowledge within medicine has changed a lot, but also how we deliver care has changed. COVID was a big part of that. And I think we started to do so much remotely during COVID, and there are pluses and minuses to that. Patient care really should be at the bedside, face-to-face, in person, but that's not feasible for everybody. So I would say one thing that really has changed is we're doing a lot more sort of telehealth, or remote care, which really is helpful for patients who can't travel 2 hours to come see us, or who can't get childcare to come to appointments. So that's probably the biggest change I've seen recently.
Make it accessible, right? Accommodate so that there are less barriers to care, because I'm sure, especially with what you're doing, the more proactive, preventative, early intervention access, that's going to make a difference in the patient outcome and the baby too. So
absolutely,
it's huge. Oh, well, I love that. I think we continue to evolve with time, but I still think that the commitment that AdventHealth has made for women specifically in this community is substantial. But it also comes with the ability to give back. You're a huge mentor, right? Like in teaching other people in this space to be excellent in their careers as well. So can you share a little bit more about that too?
Yeah. So teaching is a huge part of what I do. I teach my patients every day, but I also am teaching young doctors. And that's something that I feel really passionately about, because I will only practice for so long. As much as I love my job and I plan to do this for a really long time, I know that I won't be here forever. And so it's really my responsibility to make sure that I train up the next generation of doctors. Also, I just love working with them. They're so fun. They're so young and energetic. They teach me stuff all the time. So we keep each other on our toes.
As you think about the future of medicine, what are some of the things you're looking forward to? Is there anything that's kind of coming down the pike, or that you've seen others do that you're fascinated with?
Yes, I think so. The field of genetics has exploded in the last 20 years, and that influences a lot of what we do in the prenatal space. I think the next thing on the horizon is proteomics. So we're going to be seeing so many more new tests that are coming out, where we can look at a patient's blood sample and look at a couple different proteins and be able to analyze those to predict all different kinds of risks. Risks for adverse pregnancy outcomes, risk for poor fetal growth, early delivery, postpartum depression. I mean, you name the complication, there will be a test for it.
That's incredible. So, I mean, what are you doing now to actively stay on the forefront of all of that? Because, I mean, it's rapidly changing, but that's exciting, right? I think when you talk about things like that, that to me can be a true game changer for a patient outcome. But is that starting to be woven into practices now? Like, what are you doing to stay on the forefront?
Yeah, well, it's always a challenge, of course, especially, now that I've completed my formal education, right? We all have to continually educate ourselves. That's one of the advantages of working with residents and medical students, is they keep me fresh. But I think our partnership with industry is really important, because the industry leaders are the ones who bring us this stuff. So when a new blood test or a new ultrasound test or something like that becomes available, they're really the ones to partner with to educate us on how it's used and how to incorporate that into practice. So we do have a couple new tests that we are currently using, I would say, in the proteomics space for our pregnant patients, and it's really cool.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I love that. So I'd like to pivot the conversation a little bit, though, because you are a mom, a wife, you are a physician, you juggle a lot. So, what has your lived experience, I think, especially like in serving as well, how has that contributed to how you balance life, how you, really approach your day to day? Because there's so many high achieving women that listen to this show who are juggling a lot, holding themselves to really high standards, and want to make a difference in this world. So we love to just glean the wisdom of our guests and hear more about how you're doing it personally.
Well, it's always been a struggle to balance work life, school life, home life. I started my family really young. I had my first daughter when I was in medical school, and I had my second daughter as a young resident, and I have a third kid as well. So it's always been a challenge, and I would say the way I've achieved balance really has changed over time. When I was a student and a resident, I really didn't have much control over my schedule. And so I relied tremendously on my husband and family to really pick up the slack where I just could not be present. As an attending now, a little bit further into my career, I have a little bit more autonomy with my schedule. And so that's really helpful. And I would say that's kind of like the ultimate goal, right? To be able to control your schedule. I still work hard. I still work plenty of hours, but I'm able to make time in my schedule to attend a school event or to take my son to football practice and then make up those work hours in some other way later. So I think having control over your schedule is probably like the key element for me. And then, of course, all the support that I've had, from mainly my husband.
And as we were prepping for this interview, I noticed that kept coming up. So a really supportive partner in the whole process, because it does make a difference. I mean, I give my husband a lot of credit for putting up with my crazy schedule over the years. And I was in, hypergrowth healthcare startups for almost 2 decades, which required a lot of me too. And if we weren't in sync and like the support team wasn't there, I felt like I couldn't show up in the best possible way, for everything that I was doing. So it speaks volumes when, you've got somebody behind you that it believes in you, supports you, is on the same page as you. And it sounds like he's been such a cheerleader for you from the very beginning. So
he has. He really has. We've also never really lived in the same town as any family, with the exception of when my daughter was first born. And so we haven't been able to fall back on family or have support from them just with the day-to-day, requirements of childcare and raising a family. And so, he's been that essential element throughout.
Yeah. So what advice do you give maybe younger doctors in their career or just busy women, working professionals that are wanting to build that type of life and career? Like, how do you do it? Do you zoom out? Do you look at your schedule? Like, is communication really the element? Like, what is it? What's been the secret sauce?
Finding reliable childcare is probably one of the most important things. I tell, young doctors that I work with, that's the most stressful thing. That was the most stressful thing for me, was finding and then procuring and saving that good childcare. And so you're going to spend a lot of money. But so knowing that up front, I think is helpful, and recognizing that that's kind of like your top priority, because without good childcare, you can't be present at work. And so, that's really the essential thing there, I would say.
No, it's super important. I mean, the juggling act, and we've had this conversation a couple times on the show of just how important it is to have your support system in place and to be able to rely on them, because we are chasing big goals, big dreams. We have desires in our heart to make a huge difference in this world. That means sometimes you have to give a lot of yourself to other projects and passions and organizations in order to be able to do it. And still wear the hat of mom and
Mm-hmm.
partner and be able to show up where you need to be able to show up. So, I mean, shout out to our nanny. She's amazing. I don't know how we would do it without her and my mom and everybody else that's like a part of our
Yes.
team. And just also being willing to ask for help too. Like, I love that we're having this conversation because so many times it's really easy for people to feel like they have to do it all themselves. And it's like, no, you don't. It's like, it's impossible to do it all on your own. So thank you for sharing more about that.
For the women who do it all, and then do a little more. We're here for you. At AdventHealth for Women, we created the region's only women's health navigation team to make healthcare simpler. Our registered nurses will match you with the right doctors, schedule your appointments, and more for you and your whole family. So you can keep making hard look easy.
So before we wrap up today, I know that like Advent is doing so many wonderful things to support women. What are some of the things that you're seeing though, like in your practices? Is there a greater demand? What are some of the things that maybe, those that are listening that haven't had exposure yet, but might need to be aware of?
Yeah, so the number of high-risk pregnancies is increasing and is continuing to increase for a variety of reasons, right? Some women are choosing to start their families later in life. Some women just may have more medical complications as they go into the time in their life where they're going to start a family. And so the demand for high-risk pregnancy care really is increasing across the country, but we're definitely feeling it here in Central Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So all of our clinics are more full and more busy, and we're actively recruiting new physicians. We're training them and recruiting them to try and grow our practice. But one of the reasons that I'm so happy working here and working for AdventHealth is that the mission of providing whole person care, I feel like really comes through at the patient level, but I also see it as a physician and as a physician leader, I see it at the highest levels within our organization. And I feel like that mission really does influence decisions that are made at the highest level. And, at my level, what that means is we try to make it easy. We try to make it easy for patients to get in the door, to get that appointment. We try and make the appointment itself go smoothly. And then we try to make sure that follow-up is easy. And I know that is not the case. That's not the case for everyone in my office, although we try, but it's also not the case, with other interactions that we have within the healthcare system. Some of the special programs that we have at Advent include our Fourth Trimester Program. Now, that's not for everyone. We kind of are focusing on a specific group of patients, of high-risk patients, but it's really an effort to make sure that, okay, we got them through their pregnancy safely. We got them through their delivery safely. Let's make sure we also get them through that really high-risk postpartum period safely. That program has been really successful, and we're continuing to grow it. So hopefully it will be something that's an option for more patients as well.
Yeah, it makes a really big difference. And I mean, that's why we're huge fans of AdventHealth around here, is that we are, always celebrating the fact that you're helping individuals navigate their healthcare journey. You're connecting them to the resources that they need right out of the gate. People like Doreen Forsyth, who's, helping to connect the dots for people and get them the appointments that they need. And then also making sure that those next steps are in place, because the follow through after, the initial patient experience is oftentimes what's going to really help with the outcome for that individual. And so making sure that those follow-ups are in place and different programs like what you mentioned with Fourth Trimester. And we've had the chance to really spotlight that on this show too. It's impressive that there's such a commitment. Again, you see the need. AdventHealth does such a great job at identifying the need, filling the gap, putting the resources towards impactful programs, partnerships, and resources for this community. And so it's proof of what's possible when a healthcare system truly does care about the entire community of which they're serving and the whole person, as you mentioned. So it's not just this one portion of their patient journey in isolation. It's how is this contributing to their overarching health and well-being? And I really, really appreciate that. So that's great. I'm glad we got to talk about that today. So thank you. And in the spirit of this show, she believes she could means something to everybody. It's a very popular saying, and I'm grateful it's the name of our podcast. But is there a moment in your journey where you believed you could and you did?
Well, this is probably going to sound trivial. But I mentioned I'm kind of a nerd. I'm a book nerd. And physics in college was so difficult for me. And I thought I was for sure going to fail physics. And I remember crying to my husband that physics was going to be the reason I couldn't be a doctor.
Oh my goodness.
But I, buckled down and I studied hard, and obviously I passed physics, and, proved to myself that I could do it. I think that was probably the moment that I actually doubted whether I would be able to achieve what I wanted to achieve. After that, I think I was confident that I was going to get to where I wanted to be.
You did the next hard thing, right? Like you made it through, you proved to yourself, you're like, if I can pass physics, I can do anything.
Yep.
So
that's exactly how I felt after that exam. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it does. I mean, you have those experiences in your education and you're like, am I supposed to be doing this? Like, is this really for me? And it can cause you to really question yourself. But the act of doing and seeing it through versus quitting is a big thing. So I felt like that about my entire law school career. But we'll leave that for another day. But another question that we love to talk about and ask our guests about is mindset matters, right? Throughout the entire process. Confidence in particular is a hot topic around here. What does confidence mean to you?
Well, I guess when I think about that question, I think I probably have been confident my whole life. I haven't really thought about that before. But having the idea of something you want to do and just knowing in your gut, knowing in your heart that you can do it. And aside from my physics class, I think I did. I don't think I ever really doubted that this was the trajectory my life was going to go. So I guess that comes down to really believing in yourself, right? Yeah. Whatever it is you have planned, what you see for the future or hope for the future, just knowing that, you'll get it done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that conviction too. And sometimes, I know sometimes people struggle at different stages and phases of their educational pursuit or their career path, but always being able to reflect back on proof of what's possible when you commit. And so for those listening, like if maybe there's not that strong conviction and belief in the final outcome just yet, have enough belief in yourself to take that first step and commit towards the dream, and the rest will cascade as we go. So just keep showing up, keep doing the work. You'll build your confidence as you go. So, and then our audience loves to be inspired too, whether it's authors, podcasters, speakers, influencers, or just incredible people. So who inspires you, or any suggestions that you have for our audience today?
Probably my greatest inspiration are my patients. And that might sound like a really cheesy answer, but it's coming from my heart. Yeah. I have been blessed with a supportive family and a wonderful career, and I was ready for my children when they came. But a lot of my patients are not in the same circumstance. And then on top of it, they're dealing with high-risk pregnancies and whatever uncertainties, may be associated with their high-risk pregnancy. And yet they show me day after day that they're, committed to getting good care and taking care of themselves. And they do what I ask of them. Taking medication, getting vaccines, coming to a million appointments sometimes, even when they know maybe the outcome isn't going to be great, but they're hoping for it. So the way they really work at achieving a good outcome and maintain their hope that they are going to have a good outcome.
Yeah. Well, and they keep showing up for themselves, for their babies. But you're there for them too. And just in our time today, I can tell how much you do care and love those that you serve. You can feel it. And so they're very blessed to have you by their side. So thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for all that you do. And so if people are listening and they want to learn more, or they want to connect with AdventHealth, what should they do? Where should they go?
So a great resource would be AdventHealthForWomen.com. That's our kind of main website. There's lots of information on there about the services we provide and care that they can get either during pregnancy or even outside of pregnancy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on our show today. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I am so grateful that you are here. As always, please continue the conversation over on Instagram at Allison Walsh, and make sure that you check out all of our freebies. If you scan the QR code, if you're watching on YouTube, or check out the link in the show notes, it will take you to a page full of resources and trainings and things to help you go farther faster. And that is always my intention, is to help you continue to grow. And as always, I believe in you 1000%, and my goal is that you do too. Take care, beautiful. I'll see you next time.